You know, last week we talked about the fact that the Guardian newspaper dubbed Dr. Fauci the sexiest man alive. I'm not really sure what they see, but that I don't. But anyway, the love affair with the media and Dr. Fauci, though, continues to get more serious by the day. Despite his frequent MSNBC and other left-wing media hits, plans for a memoir, and get this, a movie called Fauci, he claims to be media shy and says he won't let these new ventures distract him from ending the pandemic. Well, we hope he has time to look into this. According to new leaked documents, just 18 months before the first COVID case appeared, the Wuhan lab was working with U.S. scientists to fund the release of bat coronaviruses and genetically modified viruses designed to infect humans more easily. Let's bring in our company to react, Newsmax contributor and national memo editor, Joe Conason, along with business and market analyst Seth Denson. Gentlemen, good to see you both.
Happy birthday, Sean. Good to see you, bud.
Yes, thank you. Birthday. And thank you both. Seth Denson, we want to thank you for your kindness that you have shared with us. We both appreciate that. And he was kind enough to send some stuff to the studio that we will eat and drink later. I want to start off with this. I think, look, I'm not, like, Fauci's a public servant. I'm not trying to pile on the guy. But at the end of the day, he flip-flopped on masks. He talked about the lab leak theory not being true, discredited it from the beginning. And then he went on Capitol Hill and talked about the fact that that this coronavirus funding at the Wuhan lab, the gain of function, all that, was, not true. Rand Paul actually has now found out that that wasn't true. I don't think that the level of celebrity and gushing is deserved. What say you, Seth Denson?
Yeah, listen, I'm with you, Sean. This was an impossible job. The problem that I see with Dr. Fauci is he stated so many things as fact as opposed to hypothesis. And what we ultimately found was that a broken clock tends to be more right on a daily basis than Dr. Fauci has been. And all of this praise around him, and I don't know if you said this, but this movie is going to come out on Disney Plus. So, thank goodness that our children can get into Fauci worship at an early age. But of course, the last movie they released was Cruella de Vil, which is about the Antichrist. So maybe this is their opposite of that, the yin to their yang, so to speak. But Fauci better be careful. The last Christ got stuck on a cross. Now, he rose again after 3 days. I don't know if Fauci's got that in him.
Oh, strong word. Joe Conason, here's the thing. I've worked in government several times doing several different things. I will say it's interesting. He has, for a guy who's trying to tackle a worldwide pandemic, he sure has a lot of time to go on left-wing podcasts and media hits and MSNBC. There's a line. You should be informing the public on stuff. But it's fascinating because he won't come on conservative media and talk to us and answer our questions. All of his interviews seem to be focused just on places where he'll go and get praised.
Well, I don't know about that, Sean. I think he's been on Fox, actually.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You can, Joe, you can disagree with me, but it's a fact. I mean, he's refused to come on Newsmax. I don't know many other outlets, and I know we've asked literally for every day. That's a fact.
I mean, listen, I can't explain his media schedule. I think he is, he's been a public servant, as you said, for 50 years. He's done incredible work on behalf of the public. He's saved literally millions of lives with President Bush and the PEPFAR program. So, there's a lot on his side of the ledger. I think he works pretty hard. I think he's spent a lifetime working hard. He's 81 years old, guys. I mean, he's I think it's long past time to criticize him. He's done a great job for this country for many, many years.
He just goes on Rachel Maddow every night and gets congratulated for how awesome he is.
He might be older, but we have Nancy Pelosi, who's older in her 80s. I don't think we should necessarily bring age into it necessarily. But
if he goes on Maddow after working hours, I think it's hard to fault him for that too.
Listen. At the end of the day,
he should go on Rachel Maddow, but he should also come on Newsmax.
He should come on Newsmax. If they want to change conservatives' minds, he needs to go to that audience as well. But Joe, I want to bring up something that's interesting that Sean was talking about, and it's every day we see more and more stuff coming out that points back to this likely came from the Wuhan lab. More and more research. Even CNN came out this past week and said it is vital that we figure out if this came from the lab, where it came from. I know before on our show that you have mentioned that it wasn't really important to figure out out where it came from that wouldn't necessarily save any lives. Do you still feel that way?
Well, I think it's less important than a lot of other things that we need to do about the pandemic, but certainly we would want to know where this came from to prevent this kind of thing from happening in the future, whether it was an animal source or some kind of lab accident. I wouldn't say it's not important, and I'd be surprised if I actually said that before. I would say it's not as important as lots of other things that we can do. But, you know, the president has signed the intelligence community to try to figure it out, and that's right. And from what I can tell, they're working on it. So someday we may know.
Well, hopefully we do. I mean, the report still has come back inconclusive. Unfortunately, I do think Dr. Fauci, Seth, he was the one who said, hey, let's not look into this. It did not come from the lab. And now it comes out that he was kind of covering some of that up. I think that is concerning.
When did he say, let's not look into it? I don't think he ever said,
he said that is not something. He suggested that it came from nature. Seth?
He expressed his opinion.
I think the point here, though, I mean, is that we let China investigate China.
Joe, it's Seth's turn.
We let China investigate China, and China found out that they did nothing wrong. And I think that's the point that the mainstream media continues to want to push here, is that, no, China. Listen, it seems like politicians in D.C. want to ride two horses with one rear, as we would say here in Texas, and that may be because we get so much of our financing and resources from China. But it's time we look into this. Listen, we've lost more Americans to this coronavirus than we did in the entirety of World War II. I don't think we would have sat back and allowed Nazi Germany and Japan to do what they did and not investigate it. And I know this was an illness, not a war, but I will tell you the outcome has been the same.
Yeah.
Well, it is being investigated.
We have to find the origins. It's so important. Unfortunately, well, Fauci said that it did not look like science was pointing that it came from a lab, and now it shows that we were helping fund this very specific lab. So that's very questionable. Well, Seth, Joe, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you for being with us here this evening.